Driving in the Philippines, is it doable? See this question on the Reddit subs a lot. Can you drive in the Philippines or should you drive in the Philippines? Well, this week I just moved from way up in Ilocos, Norte to Agoo, Union, where I'm currently going for my evening walk here at the local beach. Local beach. Anyway, back to driving in the Philippines. Um, I would say yes, it's doable, but you have to be patient, a daredevil, a little insane all at the same time. Sorry about the wind, by the way. It's just kind of windy on the coast. I'll try and edit that out in post, but we'll see how it comes out. So anyway, drive I did. First, I've driven before, short sprints around the Philippines. And the 6 years on and off, I've been coming back here. Spent half a year here for the past 6 years, minus COVID. So I guess 4 years, 5 years, something like that. Starting to lose track now. But regardless, I rented cars and drove for the day, somewhere into the mountains, a couple hours, not even like an hour. I mean, just getting across town here could be an hour, even a small city. The traffic is just so insane. Not only you have to deal with cars, buses, trucks, but there's motorcycles, tricycles, and jeepneys to deal with, which are, in a lot of ways worse. I will say this, I own a scooter slash motorcycle here, and it's definitely a much faster mode of transportation in the Philippines is to be on a scooter or a motorcycle. However, a car, you could have other things besides yourself and maybe a backpack. My scooter is very limited. If I go to the grocery store, where I just moved from, it was about 10 miles to the grocery store. I could take a big bag of groceries and then put it down in between my legs on the way back. And, I was good to go, but that was about the limit. You want to buy, you need to go to the store to buy, or a chair or something like that. You have to find some other way to transport it. So a car is not a necessity here, but as my life is expanding here, getting more stuff, this is why I had to rent a car to drive 6 hours down here. Which I think in the U.S. with our highway system would be like 3 or 4 hours down here. But here, just the way traffic moves, and every town you go through has slow down. They just put these little fences out in the road to say slow down, and you have to do like an S move through the middle of them, and so do the oncoming cars. So you have that to deal with. So the thing about driving in the Philippines is you have to have your head on a swivel the whole time. You'll be cut off by motorcycles pretty much everywhere. There's nowhere where the roads are open and clear and good to go. Like, you get on I-70 or I-79 or I-80 in the U.S. most part, and you could just, put it in cruise control and, go on your merry way. Here, well, for one, the car I rented didn't have cruise control. Which I was surprised that it was a 2024 Wigo. Wigo is a tiny little Toyota car, four-door hatchback. And the main reason I rented a car is because I now have 2 cats here, me and my fiance. So, she said we couldn't take cats on the bus. I found out from my sister-in-law you probably can't take cats on the bus, but they have to go in the underneath baggage compartment, which I don't think cats would love that. It'd be pretty cool to do to them. Anyway, I rented the car. Not crazy expensive. It's like 500 peso, 3 days. Under $100 for a 3-day car rental. Very few rules here. I mean, I'm sure the car was insured. They gave me paperwork with it. I didn't look over it thoroughly because I know from experience here that if I do get pulled over, how's it going? If I do get pulled over, that they probably won't stop me. I mean, they probably won't check the insurance. They'll just check my license. That's all they ever check when they pull me over on my motorcycle. I didn't get pulled over, which is a good thing. Looks like where the river meets the ocean. I think they call this Echo Park here. So anyway, back to driving. When you are driving, I mean, I think in the 5 hours, I hit 70 kilometers an hour a couple times, which I usually hit regularly on my motorcycle, but it's different. You can't weave in and out of cars. So in the Wego, I think my average is 50, 60 kilometers an hour, 5 or 6 hours. And then every small town you get to or a small city, it's inevitable that you're going to have to slow down. Like I said, go through these S turns, slow downs, and checkpoints. They have swine flu checkpoints everywhere. Obviously, they didn't stop us for, but there are checkpoints for cars and motorcycles. It's election season, so I asked the cops at the checkpoints what they're looking for. They said guns. Even if you have a gun permit, you still aren't allowed to carry them right now because it's election season. So they're looking for guns, legal and illegal. That's because politicians here get shot on the regular. It's pretty normal political violence here, which I was a little surprised when I found out about that about 5 years ago, but now it doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I was surprised to find out there was lots of guns in the Philippines and not lots of guns like there is in the U.S., but there's lots of guns here. Um, and you can't have a gun as an American here, but that's neither here nor there. I don't really care. I don't generally feel unsafe, but it is good to know that there are guns here and people have guns, and you need to keep your eyes open for that. So anyway, back to driving. The roads are relatively good here. I mean, you could drive for the most part without hitting too many potholes or bumps, at least up here in the north. And I found the same in Mindanao in the south. One thing is though that um, driving at night here, and I've done a little driving at night here, but I'm not big on it. For one, a lot of guys driving motorcycles don't use lights. Some of them don't have lights. Some of them rig switches on their motorcycles because motorcycles, that they come with, as soon as you turn the motor on, the hey puppies, as soon as you turn the motor on, the headlights on, the whole time the motor's running. For safety purposes, these guys rig their lights so they turn off. So I think I've heard people told me they think they're saving gas money and if their lights aren't on, and I guess in a small sense that's true, but a very, very small sense because the lights run basically off the generator. I can't remember what they call it on a car, but the lights run off the generator, which runs off the battery, which runs off the perpetual motion of the motor, I guess. The battery recharge the alternator. The alternator recharges the battery and the lights, and it's all run through the fuel system in one way or another. So maybe in some small way they're saving pennies, but the risk they take by having the lights off is a lot worse than the money they're saving by. How's it going? You guys having a race? You having a race?
Yes,
Yeah.
this way tayo lang. This way. That's why we
Ah, good. I like it. Everybody's out here exercising, having picnics. Very communal here in the Philippines. So anyway, driving in the Philippines is, I would say, not that much more dangerous than driving in the US. I know if you drive here, you want to have, 360 view cameras on your car because if you're a white person driving here and somebody hits you, they're probably going to say it's your fault because they're going to assume right away that you have a lot of money, whether it be true or not. That's the assumption. Hello. People are very friendly here. They have looks like a pretty newly constructed sidewalk or walkway along the beach here. And it's a beautiful view tonight, for sure. But kind of in the mountains, if you guys follow my channel, I was always walking along the river. Now I have this ocean walk. It's a little far from where I'm living. I moved in next to my girlfriend's sister. When I go back to work, my girlfriend has some family really close to right next door right now. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's another video. So anyway, back to driving. The car was in relatively good shape that I rented. Like I said, it was relatively cheap. It was, of course, easy to drive. A little Toyota Wigo, Honda Civic in that class. I took my cats in the back, but one thing is here, back to driving at night. If you drive at night here, a lot of people turn off their lights, like I said. A lot of people tint their windshields because of the sun during the day, which is another insane. I've rented cars here before that have had their windshield tinted, which just doesn't make any sense at all to me, unless you just don't drive at night, because it makes it so much darker at night. Then another thing here is the roads. Like they have a lot of bypasses around the towns here, where they're building more of them, especially in the north. Like the town I just moved from, they're currently building a bypass there on the road next to the beach now. And the bypass will, bypass the busy part of town. But a lot of times, they're slow moving, like the one I've been living in that town for a year, and that bypass was not finished for the whole year. It takes a long time. A lot of the roads here are built out of concrete. But anyway, I was taking another bypass around another town. So I drove the 5 hours, 6 hours down, dropped off my fiance, the two cats, unloaded the truck I hired to carry my furniture and my bed, my refrigerator, and all that, to carry it down to my new house. And I slept the night. The next morning, I had to get back in the car because that's another thing about in Manila, you could get a one-way rental, but where I was living, that I asked people for a one-way rental car, and they look at me cross-eyed like, "What are you talking about? A car that I could just drive down and drop off." So I had to drop off the cat, drop off my fiance, and then turn right around the next day and go drop off the car, jump on a bus, and take the bus back to and the bus is like 8 hours, stops every 5 minutes. So it was a long weekend last weekend for me. So yeah, there's no flight option either. Kind of like in where I was living, I could take a flight from Manila. It's 1 hour. This is like halfway between there and Manila. There's no airport around, so the only option is a bus or a rental car. Since there was no drop off, I had to bring the car back, come back down on the bus. When I was driving back, my fiance's mother and her brother and her niece came down with us for the ride, basically to see the sister and all that. And then I drove them back up that day. And her mother speaks some English, not a lot, but she was like, shortcut, shortcut, as we were driving back up. And there was a turn to the right that was a shortcut. And it was getting later, it wasn't dark yet. But I missed the right, so I put it in Google Maps real quick, and Google Maps also had the shortcut in there. Hello, how are you? So Google Maps also has the shortcut in there, and they said Google Maps said to make the next right turn. So it's a pretty open road. I make the right turn. I start driving down it, and all of a sudden the road ends out of nowhere, and it's like a block of concrete with like a 10 or 15-foot precipice drop off there. If it was at night, there was no light, no sign, no orange tape or anything like that. If it was night, I'm sure I would have just drove off that block and severely hurt us all or something. So driving at night in the Philippines is not a good idea unless it's your neighborhood, you know where you're going. Even in my neighborhood where I just lived for a year, even in my neighborhood where I just had lived for a year, man, it's beautiful out tonight. But even in my neighborhood where I just lived for a year, I would not drive around on my motorcycle at night. So basically, for all you guys asking on the internet, is it safe to drive in the Philippines? I would say yes, with the caveat that you drive during the day, be aware, make sure you're a good driver. I mean, I drove a truck in New York City when I was an 18-year-old kid for a job, a 24-foot freezer truck. I delivered ice cream to like every Chinese restaurant in the 5 boroughs. It was a 15-hour day, hard job. I would get to buildings, where I had 12 5-gallon jugs of ice cream and take them up 5 flights of stairs. The whole building, downtown Manhattan, with no elevators, that kind of thing. But it paid really well, especially for the time of the lady. I made good money there. Anyway, driving in the Philippines, do it. It's okay. Also, you're one of the. I was under the impression that you could drive in the Philippines for 2 months before you had to do something about your license, on your U.S. license or Australian license, whatever. But a cop just informed me on one of the checkpoints that it's now 6 months. I'll have to double check that, but you can drive for 6 months with your license before you have to leave the country and come back, and then you can drive your 6 months like resets or get a Filipino license. If you're like me and you come here for 5 months, before I was just kind of rolling the dice the last few years, I just drive and tell them when they ask me how long I've been here, I would just tell them I've been here a month or something like that. Hopefully they didn't look at the passport and put it together that I've been there 3 months, whatever. But anyway, that's the story of driving the Philippines. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask below. I'll answer any of your questions in the comment section. And I'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, share. Peace.